Welcome, one and all. It is January 8th, 2025. This is Business on the Block, episode. God, what are we up to now? 103? 4?
8? I don't know.
8? Anyway, this week we're tackling predictions for 2025. We're going to walk you through what's happening in the world of digital business. Michelle, Mike, and myself will each bring 3 predictions for what you can expect to develop in the year ahead for 2025. So if you're building your business, if you are operating in any business capacity, the purpose of this program is to give you insights and a little bit of an edge as to what's coming around the bend and try to get help to you positioning yourself. All right. So I'm joined as always by my lovely co-host, Michelle Peterson-Clark.
Happy New Year, everyone.
And Mike Neubauer.
Happy New Year indeed.
Michelle comes to us from down under, and Mike is out in Miami. And I'm in New Jersey. Above, yeah. I'm in Drone Central. All right, so we're going to start us off with, I guess this will be the first go-around. The plan for this is each of us will give one for the predictions for the year, and we'll do this 3 times. And this is going to be anything to do with really blockchain, AI, digital media revolution is how we position this. So I'll do the story intro, and that's Michelle. Should we start with you on the first one?
Yes.
All right, hold on one second. First. Taking us into prediction segment 1.
Followed by Mark.
Go ahead,
Michelle.
Michelle.
I want to go first so that then I take all of your guys' ones and then I don't have to think of any others.
I'm happy to lead. You want to change it up?
No, I'm doing it. So my first one, we did talk, I did put a message in we have a Discord chat that we talk in, and I put in the message, I'm really struggling to come up with anything that, my 1, 2, and 3 not being 1 AI, 2 AI, 3 AI. And so I had to think really hard about that. But of course, predictably, my first one will be about AI. I think that AI as we know it right now will be a blip compared to what it will look like at the end of 2025. Now, I don't know what that might look like, but I think that it is, if people think it has bells and whistles now, it is coming with a whole train of bells and whistles by the end of this year.
That's great. I kind of agree with that. Mike?
I definitely agree with that. In fact, one of my predictions is somewhat along the same lines. It gets into a little bit more specificity on why, but I think that this toothpaste is flying out of the tube, and I don't think it's going back in. So the more resources available, I think the more advancement we're going to see. The more demand that's out there, the more advancement we're going to see. And we've already seen, I guess you can call 2024 as the year where AI impregnated all of our devices without us caring if we wanted it or not. Now it's about developing it and making it grow a little faster.
Interesting. Is that an official prediction?
As you say, Mike, it's like when we all got, the YouTube album on our phone or whatever.
Yeah.
All right. That's good. We'll take that for, I agree with both of you guys on this. Mike, you want to tell us your prediction?
Sure. Again, along the same lines, I think that the reduction of energy costs and pricing throughout 2025 is going to lead to further advancements in quantum computing, therefore leading advancements and further development by AI of AI. So years ago, we talked about this show. I'm not really interested in how fast or how awesome this is until ChatGPT 4 creates ChatGPT 5. I think we're going to get there. I don't know if it's an official prediction for this year, whether that will be the case, but I will make the prediction that there will be tremendous input by AI on the next advancement and the next iteration of what AI looks like at the end of 2025.
I think I agree with you, Mike. This is progressing much faster than anyone expected. Last year, I had predicted that we'd hit AGI in 2024. We didn't, but Sam Altman is predicting that for this year. So things are moving. And I think that, that's an interesting angle of that AI is going to help shape AI. Thoughts, Michelle?
Well, I think that's a no-brainer in that regard, isn't it? Because as weird as it might be to say, I'm not sure that there's enough people smart enough to make it better without using its own technology to do so. Does that make sense?
Then I worry about the hallucination thing. And like, this is where AI gets into synthetic data and off the rails. Like we talked about this a year ago. I
Yeah.
wasn't ready for this.
And was it you, Mark, that put into our chat the thing about how ChatGPT tried to stop itself being stopped?
Yes.
Was that? Yeah.
They were trying to take it offline and they tried to preserve itself. I do think they were testing it. They had instructed it to try to preserve itself to see what it would do, but it resorted
Yeah.
to lying and deception and hiding files. So
Wow, like politicians worldwide. Wow.
Right.
It learns very quickly, doesn't it?
Well, just like any other computer program, it's trained to advance based around its input. But
Yeah.
I also feel that, again, the crux of my prediction anyway is really relative to the energy availability and the energy pricing. Now, we talked several times about private companies buying up energy facilities to facilitate the advancement and the application of AI, both from a business and a user perspective. Who knows? That could actually lead to more energy. How can I say this? More energy availability, therefore selling those items back to something like a national grid to reduce the overall energy pricing on things. And when the cost to do business is less, more business gets done. So that's really where I think a lot of this advancement is going to come from. And look, we've already touched on quantum computing. Anybody paying attention to CES out in Vegas right now, that is a big hot topic with respect to some of the new microchips and some speeds that are being developed on the tech front. All of this is going to come around full circle when it comes to AI. And then again, I'm not going to dismiss blockchain as being relevant here as well, mainly because there needs to be some sort of a reliable storage facility for all of the applications of these tokens.
I agree with you on
I
that.
agree
That
with
blockchain will merge closer with AI. I do think, Mike, the quantum computing thing is a bit out over our skis. I don't think we're there yet. I know Google's Willow chip will enable it, but they're not really at quantum computing yet, despite CES. My opinion. I feel like that's.
think it'll be. I mean, they made the argument. I saw a video yesterday that, and who knows if it's just a hype thing, but they're saying that a personal quantum computer will become available for about $3,000 US by the end of the year,
a personal
which
quantum.
is nuts. I mean, my computer costs $3,500, right? So
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's nowhere near that level of capacity, speeds, infrastructure. So if we start getting to that point, I wouldn't be shocked to see it develop a little bit faster, more competitors pop up into the marketplace. But I would expect that it would hit a little bit more on the top tier corporations and maybe even government levels, be more prominent, more exposed at that level before it ends up in a consumer's hands, on the regular. But who knows? I mean, we live in this world where things are outdated 5 minutes after they're launched. So they might want to get this out there ASAP.
Interesting. All right. I'm going to take us to my prediction.
Hang on. I'm just adjusting my budget because my engineering husband will want a new computer by the end of the year. Just putting that in.
It's got to be quantum. 3,500 is crazy.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like, oh, okay, $3,000, right?
Here's my prediction. With the rise of AI tools, right? AI tools are so accessible now. I think the one-person business model goes mainstream in 2025. I'm going to coin the term AI entrepreneurship. And I don't think this is about content. That's all people are thinking is like making videos and such. I'm talking AI will start to handle the operational tasks like billing, scheduling guests for podcasts, negotiating contracts, that type of stuff, like the back end stuff. So then creators then start to focus on strategy and specifically relationship building in 2025. I think that's going to become the business advantage. And I don't think there's still this culture, the bro culture of funnels and sell my stuff and get rich quick, like the course creator thing. I think this becomes a relationship driven business world in the next year because the tools are so easy. So rise of this AI solopreneur, I'll call it. I don't know how to term this.
It sounds to me like it's an assistant.
Yeah, but I mean, I think in the old days, a guy like a Justin Welsh or a Dan Coe, these guys are making money doing their own little thing. I think that becomes the norm for the creator economy.
So where does that leave VAs, do you think?
Hosed. If
Yeah.
you are a VA or you are an out of country VA where you used to have an advantage because the AI
Price
and
was low.
agentive workflow is going to replace labor.
Yeah.
I mean, like this year, this isn't coming. I think that especially if I'm a big company and I've got a few bucks to spend, why would I hire someone if I could hire 4 different AIs to do the job?
Well, the name of the game has always been efficiency, right? Especially from a business perspective. How can this remove some of the, daunting tasks that are on my plate in order for me to focus on different ways to scale and make money? But it sounds like what you're suggesting is that, a traditional entrepreneur who's looking for different ways on how they can, seed in different markets, get their foot in a few different puddles, can ultimately rely on AI in order to run the day-to-day operations, the inflow of revenues and different, communication components that are associated, just basics, out to their communities, out to, potentially reach out to new clients. I don't know if the market is receptive to that yet. I don't know if people are willing to sit there and accept a message that's generated by something like AI. I don't think we're at the stage yet where, I personally still feel like we're at the stage where there's a lot of skepticism, and it cannot be a reliable representation of your brand just quite yet.
But do you think we don't do guests on this podcast? But if we did, the back and forth for emails that would be required of like, hey, what about this date? What about that date? Here's some prep sheets. That's all AIable. Why wouldn't I do that?
And
Well-
if you've seen Andrew Davis's Drudini presentation that he has been doing over the last 18 months or so, where basically he trained his chat GPT. What is it?
GPT.
Yes. How many times will Michelle say that wrong this year? There should be a prediction for that. It's my slight
It's my number
dyslexic
3.
tendency going funny. He's trained his chat GPT bot to answer emails and whatever, and he's given it a name. He calls it Drudini, and it says on the bottom of the thing that this was created by Andrew Davis's, assistant, AI assistant, Drudini, blah 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 blah. But it, and it does things like, great to see you the other day, Carol, blah blah blah. Like it's so. I mean, he's already been doing that.
Yeah.
So.
I
But
think
he spent a long time training it. Like he didn't just write 3 prompts. He probably spent a good 3 months making this sound like him.
So you can download off of LinkedIn all of your contacts. A lot of people don't know this. We've talked about this on this program before. But so I've downloaded all of my contacts from. You just ask it off LinkedIn. It takes a day to calculate it and downloads your file. From there, I can GPT this thing and do anything I want. People's birthdays, sending out surprise and delight gifts, recommend to me everything that might be a surprise and delight gift for my top 10 readers for my newsletter. I'm like, these are things that are very easy to do now, literally free, and people just haven't thought of it yet. But as people like Drudini are pulling away with their AI first approach to business, it's going to be copied. Like that's going to become the norm. Well, small businesses don't wait 2 years.
My pushback to all what you're saying, and I don't disagree with it. It's just that you in one breath you're saying that this is the way to go. On the other breath, it's relationship building. But doesn't this replace relationship building?
I'm saying you open the door to relationship building with the AI. The actual interaction has to be human. So in other words, if I send Mike, let's say you're one of my top 10 customers, and my AI identifies you as such, and identifies that you're a Yankees fan, and it recommends to me I send you a Yankees cap to wear for the podcasts. All of that, it was behind the scenes. And at that point, I can then run with it. I send you the cap and call you up and be like, hey, Mike, just want to say thanks for, whatever business. That's where the AI, and that's going to be the blurry line where people that don't do it right will screw themselves. That's
sort of what this is traditionally what you would ask of an assistant or a secretary, back in the day. You have, send this guy flowers. You know what I mean? So again, it's not necessarily a replacement tool. It's an efficiency tool.
This is the crypto bro argument where they don't know to draw the line between relationship building setups and actual relationship. Like you can't automate a relationship, but you can automate all the piece of, like you just said, send the wife flowers because it's the, anniversary or whatever.
Yeah, but okay, so and I'll give you a sort of a personal story from the holidays, right? So my wife's Christmas card. I swear I would admit it on the show in front of, the 13 people that are here. I swear
13,000? What are you
I
talking
wrote
about?
it. No questions about it. But her first instinct was, did you have ChatGPT write this up?
Right.
So now that's where I brought up the skepticism earlier. Now, that's a silly example, right? Like, she was obviously kidding, but she knows I work a lot in this industry and she knows that I have these tools available. And she's, just making sure that I took that extra second and gave it an additional thought instead of just, hey, write me something for my wife for Christmas.
Right.
So, but my point is that, does it devalue the end result of what you're trying to accomplish because people have that skepticism?
Like everything else in life, it's how you do it.
I think,
Well,
I
I
think,
think it's
Mike, that
again
it
how it's
does.
perceived.
I think, Mike, that it does, but I also think that it's probably going to become the norm. And after a period of time, people will forget that it's all AI written.
Well,
Do you
here's
know what I mean?
okay.
Like, it's
Just exact. Okay, so take that point, and I'm gonna actually give myself another bonus point on a prediction that was made several episodes ago. Are we training ourselves based around an output that what we're seeing from AI? And if
Like,
so, then yes, this theory could work. But the reality is that is actually disconnecting us from our social norms of actual interaction amongst each other.
I'm going to give you an example and I'm going to answer your question. Back a few months ago, a year ago, whatever, short form content became the thing. And it was the algorithm hacking of I do shorter videos, I make them more highly produced. Today, it's the opposite. Longer videos, less highly produced. I'm trying to chase the algo to leverage the tech to get me my followers, right? That's been the MO we've seen out there. The smart people were like, yeah, I understand that that's how algo hacking works. However, we have continued to do this show live when it would be so easy to content create this stuff. And because of why? Because we'd rather have the interaction, the live experience, the whole thing. There will
Nobody
be
knows
people,
what Mike is going to say.
but I mean, like the origins of this show
Exactly.
haven't changed in terms of we go back and forth with our community. I don't think that most people will do it that way. I agree with you, Mike. I agree with you, Michelle. And they will screw themselves. That's the crypto bro, get rich quick. We're seeing that out there. However, there is a fine line and you need to self-manage. It's a lot like not eating too much at the dessert table. You're going to have the ability to be lazy about it. But the people who aren't, who actually pick up the phone, who did that last, you can get to third and a half base with AI, but to get to home plate, you're going to need to actually be a person.
I think third and a half base is a little far. I
Third
think you
base.
can get out of the batter's box. People still buy people, right? They still buy your
Yes.
products and services based around you.
Sure.
You can have AI drum up the most amazing, beautiful relationship content you can imagine in the form of social media postings, video content, a website, whatever it is. But the reality is, at the end of the day, they need to buy you. They need to buy the product that actually suits them. And nobody can help relate themselves better to your situation than if you actually talk to somebody, especially a salesperson, because that's what their job is.
So I want to clarify then. I agree with you. I'm talking about content that can't be AI'd. And there is actually content that cannot be AI'd. My personal stories that I share from Wall Street, or if we tell, anecdotes, Mike, you just told me something from the holidays. No AI can share that. Even though it could, it's an AI, it doesn't matter. So when I share my personal experience, an inside, a thing that happened, that's where it's going to be your ability with humor, your ability to share, like that's non-AI-able. And it always will be because people don't care if it's from a machine.
I push back on that. I think it is very AI-able depending on how you train it. You can train it with those same life stories and say, create a scenario of your own.
Yes. But I think,
but eventually people will know that's not true. And if it's not true, do you 100% trust that person?
And that's the point, right? So if you go out of your way to send me a Yankees cap, and I know ultimately you didn't go out of your way, you just set this thing up, does the end result hold the same value?
I think what Michelle says, that all the truth comes out in the wash, especially in a connected world. When you find out that Tiger Woods has been cheating on his wife, when you find out that someone surfaces in a P. Diddy video, like it eventually comes out.
Well, we'll see. AI is here to tell the truth too, right?
Let's go to round 2 of predictions. Do we rotate this to have Mike now lead this one, or do we keep with Michelle?
Me,
Right.
I say it first
She wants-
every time.
Michelle gets first crack.
Way it
Ladies first.
goes. Okay, so I think that the US economy initially will be on a euphoric wave with the Donald coming in, or should I be more professional and say President-elect Trump? And
You have 12 days to call him that.
there will be lots of good things that happen because of that. However, I think that by the end of the year, the gloss will be a bit tarnished, or the shine will be a bit tarnished. It'll wear off a bit. I think that if he implements the tariff stuff, that by the end of the year that will bite. But the reason why I've said this as one of my predictions is, and it kind of ties in a bit with what you said, Mark, is that I think that that will just be a boom for the creator economy.
So you're saying that big business gets hurt, creators do all right?
Well, I think that big business by the end of the year will continue to lay people off.
Oh,
There
yeah.
might be a bit of a lull. And because people are being laid off and they're looking for jobs, and it's really hard to get jobs these days, I think that, as you know, as to your prediction, I think that people will go into their own.
They won't
thing
have a
and
choice.
do their own thing.
I think we're
because
having a
they won't have a choice.
subculture.
That's right.
I'd almost call it forced entrepreneurship, and it sucks if you don't want to
Yes.
be doing it. It's very hard. But
Yeah.
I agree with you, Michelle.
Yeah.
I mean, I would suggest that a lot of people are looking for the opportunity to do that. And when the economy starts to improve, it allows for that opportunity.
As
Right?
well.
I mean,
But that's for those people that feel confident in their own abilities to do that. And that's not everybody. That is not going to be the 17,000 people necessarily that say IBM lay off.
So this
For
is
example.
borrowing from Robert Kiyosaki, for those who are familiar with Rich Dad Poor Dad, but he talks about whether people are entrepreneurs or employees is determined by your
Yes.
personality makeup. That some people prefer. I know I have family members who prefer to be, I just want to be told what to do. I'll do the job well.
Yeah.
And I graded under that on Wall Street. So like it's a personality thing.
yeah, but doesn't have the ability to change?
I think
Some people might, but there's the vast majority. I mean, let's be honest. The billionaires of this world require, at the moment, people to not want to be doing their own thing. They require people to turn up at the Amazon warehouse and move the forklifts around or pack the boxes or whatever. And they need that for them to continue to be billionaires.
I see, again, if any of these predictions are going to be, having value, like the AI integration, the robotics integration is going to assist with a lot of that stuff. In fact, a lot of this open source technology that we're starting to see as well is also going to improve on that, right? Some of the cool parts about what Apple did at the beginning that a lot of people just didn't give them credit for was the open sourced app development, right? They didn't have to invest all the money that they wanted to in developing apps. They opened it up for other people to do it for them. And it led to selling more products. So I think that when opportunity presents itself, whether you're in the mindset or that personality or not, if you see an opportunity based around whatever skills or value you can add to that opportunity and you take it, now all of a sudden you've crossed that Rubicon and now you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I agree, but I also think Michelle's got a point. A lot of people, can you change is a good question, Mike. I don't know that people do change.
I think people change all the time. And I think that, we're blessed to be at least in an era and in a place in this world, but all of us actually, where you can literally make something of yourself tomorrow and lose it all the next day, right? And then gain it back the day after, right? So I think that wave is possible for everybody. Now, yeah, look, I'm not going to disagree. People are just in it to, they're in it to, they're here to live. They're here to work to live instead of live to work, right? And, everybody gets up to the plate looking for a grand slam. Some people like to hit singles. Some people just like to ride the train as it runs around the bases. But I think that, again, when opportunity presents itself, it draws another line in the sand that some people like to hop on one side or the other. And then before you know it, the workforce, the reliant workforce, is not necessarily as big or demanding as it is when there's opportunity out there, because costs are down. More income has come in through whatever jobs that they've been able to have. There's more money at their disposal. And when there's more money at play, there's more risk and opportunity available too.
I think that once the boomer generation have either all retired or are all dead, that might be a more likely scenario. But my experience with people, and in, you know, the early years of the next generation, is it X? Am I X? I don't know what I am. Stability and certainty are cornerstones of their work ethic. So being an entrepreneur, like we all are, there is nothing stable about that. There is very much uncertainty around that, unless, you know, for people that are solo or small businesses, there is a lot of there's a lot of give and take and a lot of unpredictability. And there are swathes of people who just are not built like that and won't be able to manage that. I agree with you that I think the younger generation, you know, when you ask them, oh, where are you working? They say, oh, right now I'm at X, but later I want to do Y. Well, my father worked at the post office for like 35 years. No one's going to be doing that anymore.
Nope. Mike, sorry, Michelle.
But, you know, like quite often, you know, they'll say, not now anymore, but, you know, in the earlier days, it was like, well, when are you going to get a real job? You know, because running your own business for them was not a real job.
I want to just have some sensitivity to the American-centric viewpoint of that, Mike, and I'm speaking as another American here. The fact that you can make your money, lose it the next day, and start again is a very celebrated thing here in this country, in the United States. But there is a bit of an anti-entrepreneurship push going on right now in Europe, and specifically in the UK, where the millionaires and billionaires aren't paying their fair share, and they should be taxed. And, you know, we just went through that here a few years back. And so my point is, there's not a right or a wrong. But it is, do people change? I mean, maybe over time. When I was younger, I wanted to work on Wall Street. When I was older, I didn't want to work on Wall Street, so that I changed. But I think that the speed of change we're going to see with this AI revolution, it's we already know, is you can't keep with it. It's astronomical. So people won't have enough time.
Okay, so is it safe to say that that same fear of uncertainty is still valid, not only as an entrepreneur, but as a stable employee, with all these layoffs that are happening all the time? So it's the same mindset.
Yeah,
you're right.
Same mindset.
But at the same time, the number of people that live paycheck to paycheck everywhere, that at least while that paycheck's coming in, feel there's some stability in their life, I think is a big enough thing at the moment.
And again, when there's excess and there's resources and there's opportunity, it opens the door to do multiple things, right? So the majority of people that I know that start their own business have something already in play for them. They have that, you know, mailbox money that comes in, that full-time job that happens. And then they build themselves out to the point where they feel confident, not only in where the market is about the industry that they're creating, or entering from their creation of their business, but the ability and the confidence in themselves to go out and only eat what you kill for whatever time period that is, a week, a month, you know, 2 months, a year. It takes a lot of risk. It's not easy. I mean, you know, I'm 15, 20 years into my career, and every day is the same struggle, right? Because again, it's just me. If I go to the bathroom, my businesses go to the bathroom, right? Like, you know, there's no moving everything forward. So I think that it's an interesting way to look at it. But I also feel that, you know, again, with this advancements of technology, and we talk about business efficiency a lot on this show, it's only going to encourage more participation. You throw in whatever Trump brings or doesn't bring to his term, at least the first 2 years of his term, I mean, I see a much more prosperous economy, which could lead to amazing things.
In the US, maybe, but I can tell you that there are a lot of countries that are not the US that are worried about what the impact of him being in is going to have on their economies or their security, stability.
With all due respect to the world, my world is in my four walls, and my four walls are here. So that's my focus, and that's where my business is going to thrive from.
Before we go down the politics road, Mike, what's your prediction? Round 2.
So my prediction, and I have one about the White House too, but I'll save that for the third one. The search engine incorporation of AI will transform ad placement on new, more widely acceptable marketplaces and platforms that we haven't seen yet. Streaming networks, podcasts, these will all be individually applied to a user's interests based around whatever information can get analyzed from AI.
Customized advertising. I like it.
So I can tell you that my husband is working on a project right now that is actually going to do that. So that's a tick already. It doesn't have to wait to the end of 2025.
I don't disagree with either one of you. I think that people would want that, right? If I'm really interested in whatever, thing I like, Jeeps, I'd want to see the ads for the new Jeep. Yeah.
And immersive ads streaming, which is part of what that is also scalable in terms of if there's 3 people watching, the ads don't come on during the program. But if there's 3,000 people watching, they do. So it's also adaptive and dynamic in that regard as well.
Well, that's nothing new. YouTube has done that forever. They'll place ads based around audience sizes.
It's something I think that means more to those people that are running the shows as well as the people watching it. But I think the other thing too about that is that as an add-on to your thing, I think that we will see by the end of the year revenue sharing models based on that.
Interesting.
For sure. And I think that, just to give you a practical example of it, that hasn't happened yet, but I think it will be. If I'm watching, a football game on Prime TV and an ad comes up with a QR code that has something that I'm interested in, and I engage with that, that's going to enter me into some sort of a compartment for a search engine. Right now, my information is now compartmentalized into this segment that AI can essentially analyze, and rather than it producing the next ad, which is already preset, it switches it to something that it is more that I am more predictable to engage with. And I think that is the real-time analysis that I feel AI will bring to the table. That's, it could potentially be, it used to be a bidding war with ad placements, right? Now it's going to be more about engagement. And I think that, the more you engage with a user, the more they come back. That's really been the model of tech since the inception. So if there's more interactive ways using smartphones, using AI, using chats, using social media, using whatever, AI is going to pick up on that, and it's going to start developing these different platforms. I think more in the streaming world, just because that seems to be the way everything is going right now.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to connect these dots to rock and roll, which is in a very non-AI-able personal anecdote. I was in a band back in university, and if the room was hopping and we would play a Led Zeppelin song in the crowd, it was an upbeat Guns N' Roses, let's say, and the crowd really dug it, you knew you were next going to go into the other, Pearl Jam was up next, and I would change around the set list. But if it was Grateful Dead and the crowd really responded and we're supposed to go to Led Zeppelin, you know what? We're going to stick with the Pink Floyd. So my point is, every band knows this. You feel the room, the crowd. And I think advertising is that. So if you can have AI do it, it's already proven.
Well, it is, but it's hard in advertising to not gauge the customer reaction as you're pushing out the content, right? We live in a world now where it is calculable. And what I'm suggesting here is that the AI integration within search engines will be a massive push into how online advertising and placements occur heading into this year.
But you know what you
Yeah.
do know with advertising, Mike? You do know with the listeners that you have at the moment or the viewership audience, everything they've commented on the last 10 days, everything that they've liked, watched, or consumed, everything that they've posted, it knows all of that. So it can make an educated decision based on what's happening.
Yes, but if we take your first prediction and we have an AI model that does all of that commenting, liking, and engagement for you, then
No.
who is the ad traditionally targeting?
I agree. I don't want AI doing anything for me. I want it to recommend to me. That's the distinction I'm drawing with my stuff. The
And
minute
I
it's
think,
good.
I think too, what do you two think about AI? So just say, for instance, we start having blog ads on Business on the Block.
Trump ads?
Do you, yeah. Do you think by the end of the year, McDonald's, do you think by the end of the year, AI will be able to assist in individualizing ads
Sure.
Yeah.
in a stream, as
Yes.
in, so I get to see a different ad to you and to Mike.
They
That's
But
already
at
do
the
that's
same
my
time, we
prediction.
all get an ad, but it's all different.
That's
That's my
already the
prediction.
case. They already do that with comments sections. When you
They
read
already
my
do that
post,
with search engines.
My
Yeah,
post
I
on
know that
LinkedIn.
they do that, but that's not live, if you know. Like this is live.
No, it's live. It's 100% live. If all three of us are live in a cafe, we take out our computer, we Google the same thing, there's a 100% chance we'll see different results.
Oh, yes. But in terms of streaming like this.
Yeah, and again, it's all about recognizing the user tendencies and providing an output that is most predictable for engagement. And I think
Sure.
that's really what, in a nutshell, in a weird tech way to say it, that's what advertising really is. Regardless on how you spin it, whatever platform or medium you use, it could be a billboard, it could be a classified ads in a newspaper. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Your whole point, yes, conversions are there, but there's a difference between advertising and marketing. Right. And the advertising is more of the shotgun approach. You want to get the brand message out there, whereas marketing is essentially the first step in the conversion funnel.
Yes. Yep. Yeah,
All right.
I agree with that.
In the interest of moving this along, my prediction here, I think the more creators will build communities, we're going to see a new spread of the micro niche membership model. So there'll be ultra niche interests, small, highly engaged audiences become the thing now, right? Because these algorithms no longer work off of the interest graph. I'm sorry, they don't work off the social graph. They work off the interest graph. So creators charge a premium membership for some really niche, like nitty gritty thing. I'm thinking like the Dungeons and Dragons crowd or like the real sciencey people. And I'll pay money to be part of that. And that means these creators only need 100 true fans. Like it's going to go to a very small community, which is the opposite of what we've seen up until today. Get me some followership, algo hacking.
Very similar to NFTs, right?
Yes.
Limited
I actually think it leads the way to
higher
NFT.
price.
Mike, the world wasn't ready for NFTs, but the need is there. And this will open the door for it.
But I hope it does it in a way that it was really intended. The hype and the FOMO is a real dark stain on whatever NFTs were at the time.
But we knew this even at the time when the apes were going crazy and people were, rug pulls were left and right. Hawk Tua, like all this stupid stuff that goes on. When it comes down to a small community where you kind of know the people in the group, we all met in the Tilt, Joe Plitzy's community, and we know each other well. So when you have a small, tightly knit group, it's very easy to do NFTs the right way.
Correct. And it leads to additional opportunity and branding of that project, whatever it may be, and therefore increases the urge to onboard into it, which raises the price, right? That's supply and demand.
Right. All right. Taking us to round 3 here. You got the floor, Michelle.
So given like, how can 2 of my predictions be revolving around President-elect Trump? This one does too. I hesitate to say the number, but I think Bitcoin is going to go to the moon this year.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. I don't think it's because of Trump, though.
Will it double? Maybe.
I could see that.
I would throw a disclaimer in for financial advice, but
yes,
I
This is
definitely
not this is
agree.
not financial advice.
And you know, look, we there's a lot of unnecessary road barriers in the way of whatever that, you know, Bitcoin could be. We've made that clear on this show several times. And if we know anything about what Trump can do, he can be that wrecking ball that knocks over those barricades. And I'm excited for that. But I also feel that just like in traditional Bitcoin fashion, there will be ebbs and flows and
Of
ups
course.
and downs. I don't think we're scheduled to have a halving this year. So, you know, who knows if that has any impact. But I do know that, and this is actually going to segue into my prediction. I do know that the incoming administration here in the US is very pro crypto. They want to
Yes.
see the US become a crypto hub, which in generalities means that there will be a trickle down effect or some sort of a residual benefit, not for everybody, but obviously for some other areas around the world, including some of those hot spots that picked up on crypto from the beginning, and invested some of their country assets into Bitcoin. Like that's where all of this really comes around. Will it delete and get rid of all of the banks? No. I think it's an evolution of where finance is going to go on a global scale. And I'd be shocked and I'd be impressed actually if it impacted trade. I think that if he goes out and buys Greenland for, you know, 600,000 Bitcoin, and that transaction happens in crypto, it's to Mars. Forget about the moon.
All right. I'm a believer in everything you guys are saying, but not for the reasons. I don't think this has anything to do with Trump. Trump is an opportunist. He'll launch his world coin, whatever the heck he's trying to do there. I think that the banking system, specifically the central banking system, will drive Bitcoin valuation higher into perpetuity because our whole structure is printing money. And that's not just the US, although we're leading the way. I think that Bitcoin benefits from all this devaluation of currencies worldwide, which are not going to stop. And in fact, they'll accelerate in a downturn. So that means, in my professional opinion, again, this is not advice. I think Bitcoin, by virtue of the fact that it's just going to get printed out, you know, the other things will be printed, Bitcoin goes up. Now, I think that Bitcoin is distinct in that regard. It is the only crypto I feel that way about.
I also feel that it's a residual effect of whatever Trump is going to bring to the table on other areas, right? Again, if there's reduction in
Facilitating.
cost, then there's more money at play. If there's more money at play, there's more money to people put into the playground. And I think that's where we saw the surge in NFTs. That's where we saw the surge in crypto in the last go around, when there was more disposable income that people had beyond their day-to-day existence trying to make ends meet here.
Mike, what's your prediction officially?
So I think, and Michelle's going to love me for this one, but you brought up Donald twice. Elon's involvement with the White House is going to add several other elements to the X platform, based around his role in this Doge, this Doge role, and create a direct correlation and link with the government. Now, whether that's in the form of tokenization, but I also feel that your representative, at least here in the US, is not going to be your only voice in Washington. And I think Elon could easily make that accessible using the Town Square platform he's already developed, but by also eliminating external waste that goes into people needing to go through specific channels in order to get their voice heard at the national level.
I'm concerned about democracy here for a second. I'm an Elon fan. When you say that's already happening on X, am I wrong? That's already like that people are opining on X. That's not what you mean?
That's not what I'm talking about. A direct link into what happens within the government decision making, right? So when you say democracy is at risk, it's the best possible form of it. Now, look, I'm not suggesting that there isn't going to need safeguards and all this other stuff in play, but I also feel that if there's somebody that can implement that type of thing, it will be him.
So this has elements of a DAO, and I think this is the old question of when we elect a representative in any country, if you're representative from your area, are they there to do what you want them to do, or are they there because you are trusting their judgment to do what they think is in the best interest of the region?
I think the former.
It's a philosophy, and I'm not taking sides. I'm saying people will push back on. I almost don't need a House of Representatives if I could just go on the Doge site and vote on the
Well,
bills.
if you're a citizen of a country and you have a say in how the government operates and is supposed to conduct the finances and the foreign relations about things, isn't that a DAO anyway?
Yeah, but I don't think the government's going to go for that.
Well, Elon's not traditional government. That's my
true.
whole point here, right?
Elon
So he has
also was not elected.
he has
What?
a role. He has a role in a place also with the capabilities on the platform in order to execute it. So look, it's just it's a far-fetched prediction, but I also feel that it's not going to end with him just saying, well, we need to cut spending here, here, and here. I think he's going to definitely throw in plugs for whatever he's doing on the side. That's going to impact his ability to grow not only the X platform, but potentially SpaceX, Tesla, whatever he gets himself involved in.
Dude, I'm king of far-fetched predictions. I forget which one I made last year when you guys both exclaimed, "Are you insane?" at the end of it. But I think that the
AGI.
you're right. I wasn't too far off. I agree with you, Mike, in that Elon is non-traditional, and he definitely. But I also don't think he's in advisory capacity right now. And I love the guy's like business chops are unquestionable. But I don't know. In the end, power is power, and people are not going to. That's going to be a tug of war. Like we're not going to win this debate here now. It'd be interesting to see, and I kind of hope what you're saying is true, but I don't think it'll happen because it's such a. If things were going to change in Washington, it would have already.
I disagree with that. I think that we're going to see a massive overhaul on the way traditional things have occurred. And he's a big part of that, whether he has an official role or whether he has this appointed role. But I think that at some point, the rubber's going to meet the road on all of these appointees. And their job is not necessarily to go through the motions about what's been happening the same way over and over and over again and has failed. Let's be honest, it's failed. It's cost a shit ton of money. And now we have an opportunity to do things a little differently. And if there's anybody, like at least in the business world, that has no problems on taking a risk to do things differently, one is Donald Trump, and the second is probably Elon Musk.
Yeah.
By the way, who's richer?
Musk. Musk is the richest man in the world, right?
Elon, definitely.
Yeah. Musk is.
I think Donald's richness is.
Well, that's debatable.
Yes. Okay, so my comments about that. If what you say happens, I think that a lot of damage will be done. And there will be a lot of fallout from that damage because I think that
What kind of damage?
Economic damage, I think. Elon is an unstable genius. And unstable geniuses create sometimes more problems than they solve. And I think that if he is allowed to do something like that, then the ramifications of that would be quite, I actually can't even think. My woman's intuition is it's bad. That's
you're
my
so
best
general
prediction.
in that. You're so general in that comment. Like, first of all, he's not a super villain.
Isn't he?
How?
He did want to nuke the poles in Mars to warm up the planet. That sounds super villainish.
Well, who's he going to harm? The rocks?
No, I think that the Elon's presence alone with, because it's clear that he's got Trump's backing. So just his very presence is going to have impact. And it may be good, it may be bad. It'll probably be both. But there's no question the U.S. government needs to be constrained in its spending, right? And nobody would argue that. So when they start saying we need to cut things like Social Security, Medicare,
I think Ukraine would argue that.
Right, but I mean, no one
says someone who paid, what was it, $48 billion for something that's now worth $5 billion.
Oh, Twitter?
Yeah.
I still think I'm a long-term buyer in what he's doing with that thing. I still think that'll end up being the everything platform that he envisioned.
That will be the greatest move possibly in the history of business and culture combined.
I think the jury's out on that. I agree with you. By the way, for those who care, Elon's worth 425 billion right now if you go by Google.
And Donald is not worth that.
Yeah, not nearly. All right. So my prediction, after these
Will
earth
we
shattering.
finish that? Have we
Oh,
finished
please.
that with Mike? Yeah, well, sure, it's general, my statement, because like inside my mind is exploding currently from that one. But anyway,
I think the pendulum is swinging, right? It doesn't matter. The extreme conservatives were upset with which was going on here previous. The liberals will be upset with what's going on here now. And that is the way it's supposed to be. For those who know American history, when Jefferson wrote the Constitution, whatever the Declaration, he talked about factions. And factions are people who don't agree with each other. And that's just the way the systems are built. You need factions.
And you need that. I'm not suggesting you don't, but I'm just speaking for myself here, but I also noticed a tremendous calm that has sort of blanketed things since November. And I'm not suggesting it's going to stay like that. Mount St. Helens is going to blow up at some point, like it always does. But for now, I think that there's a sort of a breath of fresh air where things kind of look hopeful. There's not this suicide path that we're running on in this spending and, this unnecessary involvement in all sorts of factions and things that just don't apply to what we really need right now. And I think that train is sort of being brought back on the tracks. And Elon, regardless on whether you think he's Shredder or, Skeletor sitting on top of a castle,
80s references,
he's going to have an impact in how that sort of plan plays out.
I want to make a Master Splinter comment.
I just am concerned about the fallout from that. I think that when people are placed in positions of responsibility and authority, which as whatever it is of the Department of Government Efficiency he is, with that comes responsibility to actually look after people, not just yourself. And the problem I have with some of all that is that they think about themselves first and other people second.
Have you ever seen politicians? Like 90% of them are appointed and 100% of them only give a shit about themselves.
I'm not saying, yes, but I think that when billionaires are put in that position, it's a bit too much. But anyway, I think that
what's that have to do with it?
The other thing too is that I think that there was going to be a sense of calm and stability after the US election, regardless of who won.
No way.
Because the whole year was about what's going to happen. And the fact that it's happened and it's done is at least part of the thank God that's over for another 4 years.
My comment on the go ahead, Mike.
No, if hell froze over and it went the other way, there would be chaos.
My comment on the politics end of it is
because Donald would be inciting more
no, just people are sick of the bullshit. That's the bottom line. It has nothing to do with him.
There's a term they use. There's a term they use in politics, at least in the States here. They appoint czars, these unofficial positions. The border czar, the drug czar. Elon is the efficiency czar. That whole concept, the very basic nature of the concept of a czar, is in violation of the entire U.S. political system. There are three branches of government, and then that's it. And the president's job is to enforce, the Congress' job is to make. Like, this is the way that it was built. So when you start having these unofficial power centers, and there are tons of them, Mike, to your point, that is how politics works now. That's the problem. The issue is that the way it always ran previous is now being run by the other folks, good or bad, and hence all the friction.
No, but it's been like this forever, right? I mean, you wash one hand with 100%. Somebody, you earn your way into whatever bullshit, position they can provide to you. You think John Kerry cares about the environment? No, he does not care at all about the environment. But yet
Al
he was appointed.
Made the internet was Al Gore.
Right. And of course, he cares about people's security and integrity, right? It's all fluff. It's all the best way to sell the concept. I don't disagree with it. Again, whether the guy has money or not is irrelevant. He clearly has logic behind what he's trying to do. And that's why I'm excited to see where it goes. Look, if we're all held hostage by the superpower villain that you're projecting it to be, we'll get on the show and I'll say you're right. But I guarantee you that is not an accurate prediction. And mark
Okay,
my words, next December,
how
I'll
many
prove it.
how many stories are we going to talk about Elon compared to AI for the next year?
I agree with you on that. That's going to be a lot more. All right, before we go politics, I got to get my last prediction here. After these world-bending events you guys are discussing, I feel so small bringing this up, but online courses are going to transform into live events. I think that the death of we're looking at the death of online courses because information's free. ChatGPT. Why do I have to pay for anything? So, but audiences still want fun learning experiences. So I think creators who we're going to start to see like entertainer creators who basically make interactive webinars. We're seeing immersive quizzes already. Any kind of like story-driven tutorial type of, that's what courses transition into. So it's a different type of person doing that than what we've traditionally seen. And it's the opposite of all this like faceless channels that you're seeing on Instagram, if anyone follows this stuff. So I think the online course creation space is evolving or dying, call it what you want, but it becomes something else.
I disagree. I think scalability is too important. And you flying somewhere, getting people assembled, setting up the production, doing something in person, that takes time. And it's very difficult to scale it when you don't have enough time to do it more and more versus something online that you can just push a button and send it to 100,000 people in the same microsecond.
But Mike, this addresses your issue about the AI content creation thing.
I'm not suggesting AI creates the courses. I'm saying it could assist in it, but
no, in-person experiences. When we all went to Arizona, like live events are what people want now because AI is too easy to push button.
I think it's going to be a hybrid of both. And, I don't think it diminishes online courses. I think online courses is a complement. So I'll give you an example. I just set this up for a client. He might be watching. I don't know. Shout out, John. The course is, or the program is a membership, and the membership includes a one in-person training session, physical training like sports, and one virtual follow-up. That's what the membership includes. So there's a perfect example of a hybrid. You can provide an ebook or a course or a workshop in some capacity online, but the in-person involvement and showing that's like when you're sort of committed to somebody else's time schedule because you're in person, the likelihood of you caring more is more than you just sitting there in your pajamas watching the online course.
Right.
But I think that the online course is still a mechanism from a business perspective to scale it in order to just not, in order to grow your business and grow whatever you're trying to do. I think there's too much money left on the table if you don't do that.
So 2 things on that. One is, interestingly, I was listening to an episode of Creator Science podcast by Jay Klaus yesterday. Episode 232 was about a guy who built a 1,300 member international community. And they run, I think it was something ridiculous, like 700 live events a year worldwide. Some of them are run by members. Some of them are general community events. They have, I think, 5 of their own where they organize them and run them, where people meet up around the world. Basically, it's the community is for people who travel the world but actually have a good online business that funds their travel and, lifestyle that they do. And the thing that he said that was probably the most striking and kind of ties in with this is about if someone comes to a live event within the first 12 months of their membership, they are like 100% more likely to stay as a long-term member of that community than someone who doesn't attend a live event.
Yeah.
So
it's a relationship thing.
So flipping to that, I don't think the online courses themselves are dead, but I think singular online courses that are not connected to a community, I think will decrease. So in that aspect, I agree with you. I think
agree
that just throwing up a learn how to, use Chat GPT course, I think that type of thing is, by the end of the year, will be dead in
over.
the water. But if someone has a good community or creates a community around a course or having a course as part of that community, I think that they're okay.
I'm going to use the word ecosystem. Yes,
Yeah.
I agree with you. All right. Well, then that's our 9. I think for my quick recap of, I'm not going to go through all 9, but the
Do we
ones
have any bonus ones? Did anyone have any bonus ones?
I got the ones I didn't. Yeah, I can throw some bonus out there. Should we do a bonus one?
Yeah, quick, do a bonus one.
You lead us off, Michelle.
No, I don't have
Oh.
one.
Oh.
Have you got one?
Okay, I think that spread of tokenized assets blurs the line between crypto and traditional finance. Coming out of Wall Street, I think we're going to start seeing tokenized stocks, bonds, and real estate dabbling at the end of the year. And I say this because the big institutional money, BlackRock, these guys, they're already in with these ETFs, and they know what they're doing now, and they understand it.
Is it going to be sold as futures, or is it going to be sold as an actual asset?
They're going to call it something different, but it's going to be a token. They'll probably call it partial share ownership or something like that, but it's going to be tokenization.
Okay,
Blockchain.
so there's already a thing like that. It's called fractal tokenizing. So
not being issued by BlackRock and Vanguard.
I understand that, but that's got to be some sort of a violation of SEC.
Unless the SEC is in on it.
Well, you can't fractally own stocks.
Why not?
Didn't
Robinhood do this?
Yeah, where are they at?
I think they got into trouble for that, though.
I think,
but if the new administration is going to be crypto friendly, you don't know what's going to happen.
But you don't have to own a whole Bitcoin, right? So that already paves the way for this possibility. But there's also big opportunity for market manipulation when it comes to that.
Well,
right?
First of all, to be clear, you don't have to get government permission for anything with Bitcoin. Period. Full stop. No.
Talk to the folks in New York, man.
I'm in New York. If you want to go through Coinbase, then yeah.
Jersey,
by the way, what's that?
You're in Jersey. If you go to New York, crypto had a lot of regulations and limitations.
Believe it or not, if you want to buy on Coinbase, which is in New York, it checks you need a VPN, depending if you're in Jersey or whatever, because it knows where you're from. And so it applies the laws. Anyway, my point is, Bitcoin, the reason it was invented was to be outside the banking system. So that's still the case, which is why it won't get shut down. But I agree with you, Mike, that Wall Street and the system wants in on it. So they'll build their own version of it. And that's going to be the tokenization. And they'll call it whatever they'll call it. But
again, my fear is that they try to manipulate it with the futures. We've had that discussion many times.
100%.
If it becomes a hard asset that's tradable using a tokenized system, re-enter blockchain into the nucleus of all these conversations.
I think that's where we're going, but I also think it will be manipulated. And I think that that's how, if you want it to manipulate, you have to issue and be able to manipulate it.
No, if you want to manipulate it, you keep it off chain because of the transparency that the chain provides.
Unless you figure out a new way of doing it on chain. Like, I don't know the answer, but I know what they want to get to. They want to be able to print, and they want to
get to the same place they got to with Ethereum and Bitcoin currently, which is selling the future of what it would be. It's just like oil, right? Like if you buy oil on Wall Street, you don't come home with barrels of oil. You buy the future of what oil will predictably become. Same
paper
concept.
assets.
Correct.
I agree.
And that's where I think they're going to run into an issue.
I'm going to say, thank goodness you don't bring pork belly futures home.
I'm going to go out and buy bacon.
All right, what else we got for extracurricular here?
Sorry. Do you have a bonus one, Mike?
Threads is dead.
Actually, Threads, I don't know. I agree with that anymore. Threads is going to grow.
I don't think that's true. I think
Threads is going to be the hub for AI.
Shining light.
It will be. I take that back. Threads will be the platform where all of Mark's AI bots will communicate amongst themselves.
I am anti-AI in terms of representing me. I think the back end of like managing business stuff, AI.
Well, they'll have a platform called Threads to do it on.
For the record, a buddy of mine, I think I told you guys this story as a joke 2 years ago, went on HeyGen, made an avatar of me, trained it up on my old videos, and he sent me a video of me talking about stuff I would talk about in my inflections. That was me, but it wasn't me. Years ago. And he was like, isn't this funny? It's the coolest thing in the world. And I was like, that's the scariest thing I've ever seen.
and his wife agreed.
Yeah,
Sharon
right.
agreed.
She's like, the one's enough.
2 marks. She can't handle that.
What's your bonus tip here, Michelle, or your insights?
I don't have a bonus tip other than AI. I think yeah. How many episodes this year are we going to be talking about AI? My
I
answer
think,
to
but
that
that's
is
what business is
all
about
of
now.
them.
It has to be all of them.
So for those who are listening, we used to not try to avoid it. Every week was an AI story. As you guys may remember, everything was coming out one after another, rapid fire. We started to say privately, well, let's not just make it an AI show only. But reality is business is right now, we're in an AI revolution and it is overturning the way business gets done. So I've accepted that if I don't want it to be AI, but meanwhile, there is a relevant factor here to discuss how can we leverage this.
Well, as long as we don't talk about how much money they lost one week and how much money they got the following week, like, we talk about the practical efficiencies of
Ad
how AI
nauseum.
can incorporate into the corporate world. I'm all for it.
You know what we didn't talk about because it was the prediction show was Mark Zuckerberg's video yesterday, 2 days ago, that they're removing.
I think that should be on the show for next week.
All right, we'll tackle next week.
Old.
I definitely have thoughts on it.
That should be a discussion next week.
It'll be on part of the Threads discussion, right, Mike?
Yep. Nobody will read.
All right. We're at time, an hour and 6 minutes. This is a long one. I want to thank everyone for listening. Business on the Block comes to you every Wednesday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. The goal of this program is to give you insight into the digital business revolution. Folks who are building businesses are trying to navigate in the business world. It's changing so fast that we wanted to have an upscale conversational community, a place where you can learn. There's no secondary pitch, no upsell here. There's no ulterior motive. So I want to thank everyone for joining us. As always, we'll be back next Wednesday. Final thoughts from Michelle or Mike?
I'm about to get
See you
cut up.
next week.